Hi, Susan Specht Oram here. I'm an author of mysteries, thrillers set in the Pacific Northwest on islands. And one island is Fidalgo Island, and the other one is Whidbey Island for two different series. But I give them different names just because I felt like being creative. But thanks for joining me here. And I wanted to talk about conflict is the nub of fiction. And so without conflict, I don't think that I would be inspired to write a book. And something just happened in the forest when we were taking a dog walk. And so I just wanted to talk about that because it made me think about a possible plot for a book. And if you're interested in the process of writing or how an author gets an idea, there we were walking on a forest trail in Anacortes, and a man was walking ahead very slowly on his phone. And he was really very, very slow, but that's fine. And then he had a dog that was a big dog, very muscly, off leash. And we're supposed to keep our dogs on leash. I wouldn't mind if it's a friendly dog, except my dog is afraid of big, muscly dogs sometimes. And she freaks out and tries to pull me to the ground and run away. So I let him go. He looked back and he put his dog on a leash. Excellent. And from my point of view, selfish point of view, and then he continued on. And so he went around a bend and up a little hill, and we waited and looked at the forest and the ferns. And then we walked ahead because Abby likes to walk fast. But there he was again. So we waited, let him go ahead. And thanks, by the way, for listening to me. And I hope you'll subscribe if you're interested in true and fictional audio stories. So the third time we came upon him, he looked back and he said into his phone, "There's someone following me, and they keep stopping and staring at me." And really, I was just waiting for him to go the rest of the way on the trail and to the Rotary Park gazebo overlooking the marina. And so I was just trying to be polite, but he saw it as a threat, maybe, from what he said loudly. He was turned and faced me, and he said it into the phone. He was holding the phone out. You know how we all talk very loud into our phones sometimes like that if we're outside. And so he apparently, from my point of view, wanted to make a point, and he said, "Someone's following me, and they keep stopping and staring." So, and you can tell what I thought from that, from my face just now. And authors, we always watch people's faces. I had a really good editor, fabulous editor for my first book, Shore Lodge, and I think I've sold over 38,000 copies of that, including downloads on Kindle and the paperbacks. And it's got, I think, a 4.1 rating on Amazon. It used to have 4.2, but everybody has their own opinion and has to chime in. And that book, by the way, long segue here, Shore Lodge was loosely influenced by my working at a nursing home in a psych ward. And that just lasted 5 months in between my first year of college and my second one. And someone died. And after that, I just wanted to go back to college and leave the Chicago area. So I moved west to Eugene, Oregon, and finished college there. Had to pay for myself, unfortunately, because my parents cut me off financially. And if you're interested in that story, you can read my memoir with short essays, True Strange Tales. And that book is titled Strangers on a Train, books 1 through 8. It's a collection of shorter essay books, but true anecdotes from my life, my humiliations and triumphs. Okay, so let's get back, thanks for your patience, to the guy walking his dog in the forest. He thought I was a jerk, I think, from what he said and the way he kept looking back and scowling. And I was trying to wait him out and let him go. And so I kept holding back in the forest when he couldn't see me. But then he was going so slowly that we would come up on him because we walked pretty fast. So what I thought about was the crux of a book, which is conflict for, I think, most books. So, at least mine, the mystery thrillers and essays, right? That's interesting, a little conflict in life to explore. So, and pull the strands apart, what's involved there, different people's different points of view. So he just wanted me to get off his back. He wanted to walk slowly and be on the phone. That was his main focus. And we were exercising our dog and trotting along. And, what a great thing to have all these forest trails in the town of Anacortes, Washington, on Fidalgo Island. There's tons of public park space. Some people many years ago had foresight to reserve a lot of land and make it public for trails. So, commercial over for small town living in the Pacific Northwest. And so I could see in a novel, couldn't you, that maybe this guy follows me and my husband and I back to our house. Maybe he does something tricky in the woods. Maybe he doubles back. Anyway, you can see since I write thrillers, psychological thrillers and mysteries, you can see that there could be some plotting and planning involved on someone else's part to get back and make a point. People act irrationally sometimes, which makes fiction so juicy. I just got distracted and didn't tell a story because I think this has gone on long enough. But some things have happened in our little neighborhood where strangers have done things and there's been conflict. So maybe I'll talk about that another day when the fireworks went off and exploded in front of our neighbor's house. Okay, so thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. And I'm going to do some short true life stories coming up because I need different videos on my YouTube every Sunday morning Pacific time, 7 o'clock Pacific each Sunday, in between audiobooks. And I'm writing a novel right now, and it's a novel of suspense, and it takes place on my fictional version of Whidbey Island. And so I believe it will be book 3 in the series. I'm moving the books around. Right now I've got The Wedding Nightmare. Wedding Nightmare is book 1 in this new series. And then Poisoned Hollow, which is loosely influenced by some true experiences I had on Whidbey Island. And then I've got A Chilling Christmas Eve, which takes place there too. Who gets the inheritance is the premise of A Chilling Christmas Eve, with an estranged father who passes away and a grandmother who's going to turn the tables, and she intends to give the money to the gardener. So that's a little plug for A Chilling Christmas Eve. And it's an audiobook. I think all my books are now, and on Kindle Unlimited, that one is. So this new book I'm writing, and I haven't released the cover yet, and I haven't set up a pre-order. I'm keeping it close to the chest, so no title reveal, no cover reveal yet. But it's just super exciting, and it's a continuation of the story on Whidbey Island, which I call Barnacle Island. And I think what I like best is all of a sudden when I was writing this new book that probably will come out in September, and I'm trying to decide, should I wait to release it until I've got the audiobook done? And my audiobook, I get the books produced, and then I put them through to a vendor, upload them online, and then they upload them to Chirp, Hoopla, Spotify, Audible, many audiobook platforms, so I don't have to deal with that. So that takes a month just with the vendor. Oh, here comes my dog. Let's see if we can see. Oh, you don't want to, yeah, there she is. Isn't she cute? So she's my writing assistant, and influences some of my stories, like in The Winter Storm and that whole series, the Jacqueline Stone thrillers. And in Shore Lodge, Jacqueline has a rescue dog that looks a lot like Abby, who she must escape a secure psych ward in Shore Lodge to reclaim her home and more importantly, rescue her dog, who her grown son, is put into a shelter. So that's reason enough to have to get out of that psych ward. But it's impossible. And one gal just read it. You can tell I'm from the Midwest, the gal. One reader on Facebook commented about Shore Lodge. She just finished the book, couldn't put it down, I think she said. And then she said, I didn't know how she was going to get out of that mess. So I personally love books like that. And I do have to admit that Shore Lodge was also not only influenced by my experiences, but by a neighbor's that happened that story to her friend. Unfortunately, the friend didn't make it out and lived there until she passed away, the psych ward. And then by Jack Nicholson in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And so that was written by Ken Kesey, and he was such a big name when I was in Eugene. But did I take any writing classes? No, I don't know why not. I was studying sociology because I was interested in migrations of people and demographics and the way populations move and people interact with each other. And then I studied marketing and business, which later paid off. But, lost my train of thought there, didn't I? So the dog is very important to Jacqueline in Shore Lodge, and I read the book One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Phew, got my thread of thought back. I read One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest twice when I was for the beats and the themes and what happened when. And so in a way, and then I watched the movie, I think, or if I didn't watch it then, I saw it years ago, as most of us have, I hope. It's such a good movie, and Jack Nicholson does such a fabulous job as the crazy guy in the psych ward, locked away. And that book, I don't know if you know this, was influenced by Ken Kesey working in a Menlo Park, I believe, a California mental asylum. I think that was in the 60s, and then he wrote One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in the 70s. So Shore Lodge, at one point I drafted it, I threw that whole book out, and then I rewrote it completely. An editor had looked at both versions, and then I cut 8,000 words to make it move faster. And I intend for my books to be fast-paced and get to the point. Shore Lodge is a little slower, and it has 3 points of view. But, okay, Shore Lodge, I believe, is a female version of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, because in both books, we've got somebody who is admitted against their will to a psychiatric ward, a secure psychiatric ward where they can't leave. And and they want to escape, and they will do anything to escape. So there you go. And in Jack Nicholson's case, or the whatever his name is in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, he is thwarted by the Nurse Ratched, and I've got Nurse Wright in my book. And my mom, she's kind of funny, since the last name of the nurse was Nurse Wright, which is my maiden middle name and my mom's maiden name, she wondered if Nurse Wright had anything to do with our family or her. And no, it didn't. Sometimes I was trying to make a point that Nurse Wright, Wright, was wrong in many of the ways that she treats Jacqueline Stone, the main character in my book, Shore Lodge. But anyway, Randall, or whatever his name is, in the main character in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, he is thwarted not only by society and the social system that threw him in there for the way he behaved, and he did do some things, and then he's thwarted by the Nurse Ratched, who is a most wonderful character to despise. And all right, I'll wrap it up by saying, in Shore Lodge, I intentionally put a despicable son in there, and some people have given that book 1 and 2 stars, and 3 stars, because they hate Dusty Stone, this grown son who's 31 years old, the grown son of Jacqueline, who he admits, when she's a grieving widow, he admits her to this psych ward. It tricks her into going there and says, oh, it's a lovely retreat center. And the daughter goes along, oh, yeah, and you'll just be here a day or two. But then she learns she's admitted by him. And so you'll have to learn the rest of the story later. But in a way, I snickered to myself that some people complain that the son was too devious and they hated him in Shore Lodge. And so they gave the book a 1 or 2 star. But other people gave it 5 stars because they loved the way they hated him and they wanted to throw the book across the room. So I guess we all rate books differently. And I'm certainly, I don't know if you're like this, but I hold back on those 5-star ratings more and more as time goes on, especially since the pandemic. I'm just a little pickier about what I read, and I'll DNF, not finish a book on purpose faster, because our time might be more precious now, and now that we're not locked in. Okay, well, thanks very much for hanging in there if you have and listening, and I hope you'll subscribe and look for my next video. They come out on Sundays in the morning. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.